You know it's gonna be exciting every time you get a smartphone that shows up in a box like this. Like, look at the scale of this box. You know you are getting extra stuff, and in this case, pretty cool extra stuff, because this is the X300 Pro photographer kit. So this has that wild zoom lens inside. So if you're into smartphone photography and video, this might be appealing. Now, of course, you don't need to purchase a photographer kit. You could just buy an X300 Pro, but this makes it extra special. Oh, wow. So this pull tab, this is like a lifting pull tab. Very luxurious, like a suede-like material. Uncover the photographer within. X300 Pro. Brown in color with a dual SIM, 16 gigs RAM, 512 gigs ROM. So that is number one, and then we pull our drawer here. And inside here, we're gonna find our imaging grip, phone strap, decorative ring, filter adapter ring, lens adapter ring, and the telephoto extender. This thing is wild, look at this. Whoa. First things first, this is the telephoto adapter. I mean, that's crazy. ZEISS Vivo co-engineered. It has a bayonet style mount, which is gonna allow it to clip onto this. This is the adapter that's going to fit onto the case portion and then allow the lens to mount. And it's going to give you tremendous optical reach. The other thing that this is gonna do for you is gonna give you that depth of field. So if you're using it for portraits or something that's closer to you, it's going to blur out the background in order to isolate your subject and give you an image that doesn't look like it came from a smartphone. So this is the case. It has sort of a soft touch material in the center. It has a kickstand as well, which opens up like that. And then maybe more importantly, it's able to act as an attachment point for your camera controls. And this is gonna slide on like this. And it clicks into place. This is gonna give us a much more comfortable grip as well, especially when we're supporting the weight of the telephoto adapter. The ring actually locks into place. See this little dot? It actually has a satisfying click. Nice. This is actually gonna be your filter adapter ring if you wanna put an ND filter or something like that. And this is another decorative ring if you wanna have a different color. I don't know if you guys can spot that difference. This is like a slightly brighter metallic color. As you can see, this is a pretty robust camera strap. I mean, not just for this device, but for any camera really. You got the carabiner clip, got the braided styling, a couple of orange accents, and a quick release as well. Nice. So that's the photographer kit. If you buy just the X300 Pro, this is what that unboxing experience will be like. Ooh, cool. So they're calling this brown. It's like more of a tan. Very boxy design. You see the flat edges and obviously your substantial camera section, which already has quite a camera array, including your periscope style zoom lens, but that goes to a whole different level with the optical zoom adapter. Type-C on the bottom, you've got your dual SIM card tray there, power, volume rocker. They've also got their own dedicated customizable button. Also in this package, you will receive a SIM tool, a case. It's nowhere near as elaborate as the one that comes in the photographer kit, but it matches, it's a color match, and it's something to get you started. And then, of course, a USB-C cable is in there. I just wanna see what this whole thing is like. A case, which goes on fairly easily. You can see that extra button is mapped to the outside of the case, a metallic style of paint to it. Our kickstand here allows us, obviously, to prop the phone up in a couple of different orientations, which is nice. We have a cutout for our flash as well, and then, of course, you can see the attachment points for the strap. If we would like to put the grip on, you'll notice that it's connected via Type-C directly to the phone, and when you insert it, it's guided by these channels on the case, so it lines up perfectly and clicks, so it's not gonna fall off. And now we have something that's way more comfortable already, even without any kind of adapter, just for shooting in general. You know, it can be a little bit uncomfortable pinching your device in these awkward ways like this is. If you've ever used a real camera, you're feeling a lot more comfortable in this situation. It's just a couple of clicks. Ooh, another satisfying one, here we go. Beautiful. So you could leave that on too and use your smartphone like that, but they give you these decorative options in case you prefer to have a more minimal kind of setup. Once you have that on there, then we're gonna bring our lens in and things are about to get wild. I'm a little sensitive bringing it up, but as soon as I heard that we were shooting this video today, I was thinking, man, this would have been so cool to have at the Jays game. I was at the Jays game 6. I had pretty good seats to begin with, but if you had this thing mounted up, you're at home plate and with tremendous clarity and something that's kind of unbelievable on a phone. This is gonna fit in like like this and then just twist into place. Also satisfying. And then it has its own release button in order to free it. And I like how it has the marking on there as well, so you know roughly where to start it, and then it clicks. Once you have this thing mounted, it makes a lot of sense to have a handle on there because now you've got some weight, you have some legitimate optics on here. It's pretty wild. It's a lot more like a camera than a smartphone at this point, but obviously the vast majority of people are using their smartphone as their camera these days. And if you want to get some sort of a hybrid or closer to that world of interchangeable lens systems, this lets you do that while maintaining the flexibility of shooting on your phone and posting immediately without any SD cards, without any USB cables necessary. I mean, it is kind of surprisingly sturdy. I still would prefer to have two hands on it if I'm going to be shooting with this. Now, there is all kinds of cool stabilization that goes on when you're shooting because anytime you've got a zoom lens and it's a lot of reach going on, it can be hard to stay steady. This to begin with is a comfortable grip, but then there's also your optical image stabilization at play. That's going to allow you to get those stabilized distance shots. Oh, one more thing before I completely set that up and start shooting. There's also a standard X300 non-pro, and this one's in pink, so that could be interesting. Now, the spec sheets here are pretty similar. The battery's slightly larger on the Pro, and the Pro has some imaging specific features, including the Pro imaging chip and the ability to shoot in 10-bit log. So yeah, this one's really comfy to hold. They call it pink, but it's more like pearl. It changes colors slightly. I don't know if Mo's gonna be able to pick that up. A rainbow effect on the ring around the camera section. Inside the package, they're also gonna give you a case to get started, a SIM tray. This case is definitely pink, more towards the pinkish hue. And then they're also gonna include like a serious power brick and USB cable. This is a flash charge, 90 watt, unbelievable. So they're gonna give you a 90 watt charger in the package. If I was comparing this to an iPhone, yeah, this would be sort of like the Pro versus something closer to like the Pro Max.
When it comes to scale, you're looking at 6.7 inches on the X300 Pro and 6.31 on the X300. So the X300 has 2000 nits of global peak brightness plus 1 nit minimum brightness. You can get that gentle viewing experience even if you're in a completely dark room. So at the core of the X300 series is the Dimensity 9500 flagship platform. Now this is developed with MediaTek and built on TSMC's N3P process. Now this dual chip integration is going to have benefits for that camera in portrait video, faster capture response, and stable performance under demanding tasks.
So they both have a 200 megapixel APO telephoto camera, so that's the telephoto section, without the adapter obviously. They both also have a 50 megapixel wide angle camera there as well. That's pretty crazy. 50 megapixels for the front facing camera. And they're both 90 watt flash charge capable and 40 watt wireless flash charge capable. No, this is really cool. This would have been amazing when I was at the Jays game. And the bokeh is just, look at that. Obviously we have our software versions of this, but that is just squeaky clean. Look at that. Mo's been shooting with the device to show you what you can do with it. So we're gonna start with the ultra wide. So this is 0.6. What we can evaluate here is the flatness in the corners. Obviously you're always gonna get some small amount of distortion. Ultimately, we end up with a POV experience here. So here we have our 1X. By comparison, a much flatter image, and now we're starting to see some bokeh in the background. This is 24 mil. Since there's such a focus on the zoom lens, it'll be interesting to compare a standard 1X to some of these zooms. So here we're at 2X, and this looks great. Now we still have some blur in the background. Now here we are at 3.5, so this is 85 mil f2.67. This is their portrait mode. As we increase our zoom level, we get this flattening of the image, and then it also kind of changes attributes of, say, a human, for example, and that's where zoom lenses come in when you're shooting portraits, and people think there is some sort of optimal 35 millimeter equivalent in order to make a human look the most aesthetically pleasing. 10X, look at these little chocolate chips. Now we're in the 200 megapixel mode, and this is at 85 mil, and we got like a lot of detail outdoors. Now we have more light. That's a hell of an image. Here is an example of 4K 30 video, but here you can see the close focus is pretty amazing. And this is on the 1X camera, I presume. The video is almost as impressive, if not more. What is this stabilization? That was amazing. So we have now attached the external lens, and we're at 800 millimeters, 4K 30. You start to see a little bit of noise going on, but totally usable. And this, what is this, 200 mil? 1080p 30. This is incredible, this image. And you might be saying, well, 1080p, why does it look so good? Like, what's going on? A lot of this has to do with the isolation in the frame and the ability to blur that background to draw your attention to the subject. Even if this is 1080p, it seems like that spec is almost less relevant in this scenario than the ability you get with the optics. For you, this feels more premium. For me, this feels more premium. And it directs the eye. And we also have some tracking. The thing for me is the stabilization. Are you on a tripod? That's crazy.
I mean, I'm sitting down.
You're sitting down. The stabilization is wild at 200 mil. That's the power of image stabilization. It's really amazing. Handheld, pure cinema. Like, it looks like it's on a tripod, honestly. That's in your hands. Whoa, fibers. So a little bit of slow motion going on here. Totally usable. 4K 120 with the birds, the Canada geese. Check it out. Handheld is ridiculous. I can see a little bit of motion blur, but holy, handheld is ridiculous. Here's the thing. You might look at this and be like, what are you doing? What's going on here? This is insane. And it is. And that's what's cool about it. But the real thing that ends up happening as you sort of expand your toolkit from a creative standpoint is that you just start to experiment a little bit more. All of a sudden you're like, yeah, I do have some reach. Let me point this at those geese. Yeah, this shot here is even better. There's a little, I can kind of see the stabilization at work. It's funny, I was in Florida recently. I had another scenario where I was trying to do what you're doing right here. We were on the ocean and there was a cruise ship going by. And one of the guys was like, is that a cruise ship? And I'm like, it's gotta be a cruise ship. What other ship is all lit up like that? And so I pulled out my phone and I tried to zoom in on it and it just looked like a blob. Honestly, it looked like a blob. Just based on what you were able to achieve with these Canada geese, I'm convinced I would have been able to get a more detailed image. There is still a place for optics. We know it on a daily basis. We shoot on a variety of lenses and they all do different things. You will reach for different tools for different jobs as if you were a craftsman. And if you want to shoot Canada geese or you want to get that really smooth and buttery bokeh look, there's nothing that's going to operate the way that the proper optics will operate.